Hey, crypto fools, Booter Crypto at CoinSpace, and I'm getting on here to talk to you guys about this rough day everybody's had in crypto. I've been getting messages from everybody. Hey, what's going on? Why is everything in the red? Should I sell? Is it falling through the roof? I'm nervous. These are the days you gotta hodl. You gotta hold your coins, man. This has happened over and over and over again in the Bitcoin world, and I got a few resources that I wanted to calm everybody's fears down about and go over a few important charts I think that illustrate what I'm talking about. Um, you know, this market is a volatile market. People are seeing hundreds of percent gains, and when you're seeing that in a coin like Bitcoin, a 30 to 40% to 50% retrace is healthy, but it's freaking out all these new people that are getting in because they're buying it at highs and they've never seen anything like this where they lose half their portfolio, within a day. So yeah, I wanted to go through a few things and talk to you guys about some things I found that I thought were quite interesting. The first one is this is a guy I follow uh, on Twitter, Parabolic Trav. I want to give him credit. Some really interesting commentary about what causes some of these more recent dips that have had some controversy with Bitcoin Cash, and that's a whole other conversation to have. But yeah, I want to check out his chart and talk to you guys about it. So if you guys notice, Bcash, it was pumped last time. Everyone dropped out of the Bitcoin market, and you saw this drastic drop. It dropped right back down to our last sort of all-time high that we had been consolidating around. And what I wanted to point out is the speed in which we recovered. I mean, literally, we're looking at 180 minutes. If you see up here, that's 3 hours. So we're talking dip and back to where we were within a day, potentially a day or two. So we're seeing the same kind of retracement here, and we're believing this is because due a lot in part to this BCH fiasco with Coinbase, and we may be finished here, and we may be retracing just as hard. Whether we're done or not, I still think he's got a lot of insight to what causes these dips and why they might be happening and how we're going to recover out of it. It could be days again when we're finished to right back up to 19 and on our way up. I don't know if you see how much gain we had after this recovery. So right when we recovered, we got to about 74, 7,500, and then literally went on a tear to, it looks like, 150%. So could be in for the same kind of thing. The next thing I wanted to do, I wanted to pull up this other photo that I got off a chat group I'm in. Some guy did a lot of work on this. I'd love to give him credit, but never got his information. But this is one I think that's really going to put some things in perspective. So throughout history, we're going back just this year. We're just going back to the end of the year. We've seen these gains, right? And then we've seen retracements. We've seen gains, retracements, gains, retracements, gains, retracements. This is how it works. You can't have anything be constant and slow. You're going to have impulse waves and you're going to have consolidations. And, for each one, we've had consolidations come back to, not come back not quite as much as we had gained the period before. So this is actually a weekly time frame. So, sometimes we get so stuck in what's happening today, we gotta zoom out and see the big picture. So it's really useful to do that. We get really stuck on these low time frames, and sometimes we need to zoom out to see the forest through the trees, and that just calms the nerves and helps you remember how normal this seems to be. So on this weekly graph since 2016, we've had, let's see, 5 of 7 retraces since 2016 have been 19 to 25%. 36% was after an 80% increase in the lead up, so we went up 80%, retraced 36. 35% was when China banned Bitcoin. We had a huge run up. China banned Bitcoin, banned whatever that means, and then we had a 35% retracement. The current retrace is at 21%. This doesn't even compare to a lot of these retracements. We got 21, 36, 20, 24, 25, 25, 22. It feels bigger because we're higher up, so 21% is a lot of USD money we're giving back, but it really is nothing compared to the meteoric rise we had since the last dip. Um, this 25% retrace would send us down to 14.2. A 35% retrace sends us to 12.35. We already touched 12.35, so we seem to be recovering. Could we continue lower? Hover around that 12.35? Sure, not just be a wick. Chances are, though, we got that, and as these happen, I don't know if you can tell here, we had a pretty prolonged retracement. It got shorter here, shorter, shorter. It's getting shorter still. We have a single week of a drop before we recovered. We could be seeing them get shorter and shorter as we go on, where we just get a quick dip. Freaks everybody out, but just remember, it's not such stuff to be so scared about. It's not like the stock market. Yeah, if we saw 30% of portfolio overnight gone, it's scary. But this isn't the stock market. This is common. This is everyday stuff in the crypto sphere. Another thing I wanted to talk about too is some recent news that I just saw today. Goldman Sachs is setting up a cryptocurrency trading desk. This is huge. So, we've got futures. CBOE initiates futures. CME initiates futures. Now we have one of the biggest banking giants, Goldman Sachs, setting up a cryptocurrency trading desk. They talk about potentially having something in place by June. This coupled with more exposure from these big financial institutions. They are all taking notice, and you'd be crazy to think they're not already in the game and have skin in here. But they are starting to realize it's not something that can be ignored. It's here to stay. Not only that, they seem to be embracing it rather than trying to opt for shutting it down, which to me tells that they understand legitimacy. You can't shut Bitcoin down. China couldn't shut Bitcoin down. They made the market, freak out for a day. So this is good news. I think the more you see institutions building products around it and getting in, the more it legitimizes it, and the more it brings in those people that are still hanging on, thinking, I don't know how I feel about cryptocurrency, because there's quite a bit of them out there, but it's a pretty big deal. The last thing I wanted to quickly go over was I'm going to show you guys a little bit about Fibonacci retracements. This is getting pretty technical, but I'm kind of on a 343. I like doing that. It's a little bit more, let's see, it's not quite a little bit more. It's a little bit less than 6 hours. But these Fibonacci levels, I don't know if you guys can see it real clearly because it looks like I got a lot going on here. But the big deal about these is this is kind of measuring impulse moves, and once we have impulses that are meteoric rises, where is common zones to retrace to and then bounce? There's some important numbers. A lot of people kind of agree. The 618 and the 382 are pretty significant numbers, or levels, I should say, that we get a lot of resistance and support from. And so, consolidating from a high to those lines are quite common in a lot of coins. I could show you a lot of examples actually, but generally we take Fibonacci's from our last all-time low, and it depends, how far out you're wanting to zoom out. But I like this low here. I don't know if you follow this over, you're going to see we have a real low point there, and this is kind of going to give us an idea, and then we attach it to the last all-time high. Let me get rid of these lines just so you guys can see it a little bit better. But what you can see is we hit this all-time high, and we just seem to bounce exactly right around this 618. This is a good sign because as soon as we touched it, we jumped way up. So I don't know if I see us going much further, lower than this line. The way these Fibonacci levels work, though, is they actually, if you bounce off one, which is the 618, which I think we quite could do, and then keep continuing up, once you see the bounce and it's confirmed, that was where you stay. But we really want to watch closely when we get around these fib levels, because if we break through one, chances of going to the next one are fairly high. On this, the way I've got it measured out here may not even be that ideal of a place, because it wasn't our last all-time high, so I'm all-time low. So I'm going to put it in line with this last dip that we had. So if you see, it looks like our candle is sort of hovering right around that 618. We may have dipped close to the 382, but this looks a bit more likely for me. So I could see us turning around here at this 14.4, which is where I had told people on Twitter in my trading view where I thought was a likely place of bouncing. If we go past, I told people we may be going around 11 to 11.5 before bouncing. These are some levels to keep an eye on. Just, you know, there's a lot to learn about Fibonacci levels. If you're doing any kind of analysis, I highly recommend it. It measures, especially with Elliott wave analysis included into it, it measures impulses and people's psychology on how likely we are to consolidate at certain levels. So anyway, I wanted to go over a few things in the market news, a few different perspectives on trying to clear up this fear. These are common days. We can't see meteoric rise forever. You've got to have these pullbacks to keep the market healthy. And we've got, once we bounce from here, if you noticed when we bounced, let's go back to parabolic travs, we bounced and then we had literally 150% gains. Can you imagine bouncing from here, getting back and having 150% gains? That puts us in that 30 to 40 range. So that's kind of where I think we're going to be at by next summer. I don't really like calling tops or calling future performance, but that's truly where I think we could be at. That's what I've been telling people all around me for months. So if you liked the content, give me a like, subscribe, share with your friends. I'll keep going over market news like this. I'm trying to figure out this whole streaming thing, but I don't have the YouTube streaming down. If any of you guys have help figuring out how to set up my program for that, I'd be very appreciative. So it's great talking with you guys. Catch me on the next vid. Happy trading.